this burnt orange box of trouble is the Orama from Crazy Tube Circuits. One side is basically the Orange OR120 in a pedal, and the other side is a fuzz inspired by the Frantone Peachfuzz. They should cover everything from classic rock to stoner doom fuzz. I've got the gain set quite high, and let's just address the quick large elephant. I'm in a different studio. This is my new studio. We're not going to talk about that too much in this video. I want to talk about the Orama. So Crazy Tube Circuits are from Greece, and CTC, as I call them, are very well known for doing their amp and pedal in a box. And this is, I don't know, number 4, number 5 of this. I'm a massive fan of the Crossfire, which is a Fender and Tube Screamer, and the Heat Seeker, which is a Marshall and booster. And this Orama, well, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to switch guitar from something that isn't in dropped C, but let's stay with humbuckers. Let's go to this Maybach Lester. I'm going through the effects return of the D25 over there, and there's no preamp involved there, so I've got the preamp only coming from the Orama. So it's very sterile. In fact, it's not that sterile, but here it is with the Orama. And on those little light touches, it's got that orange hair on the note. And when you dig in, it comes alive in an orange way. It sounds, I can't say that it sounds exactly like an OR120 because I don't have one here, but it does sound brilliant and orange-like. And I'm going to play it a bit more in a moment. I cannot wait, but let's go over the controls of the pedal so we can actually find out what it's doing. Let's just focus on the orange side at the moment, the amp side. This is a JFET circuit which boosts that 9-volt in to 34 volts internally, giving it more headroom and mimicking the orange sort of crispiness. This foot switch here will bypass that orange preamp. Then we've got a number of controls here which I was kind of not expecting. And I personally get confused by the controls on an orange amp, like the Rocker 15 over there, the Terror. I like to have them written. I can't do the pictures that orange do. So I'm glad this doesn't have that. Top left, we've got the master volume. Then we've got something called HFD, which is the high frequency dynamic knob. Ooh. Then we've got gain, very important. Then we've got the FAT switch, the fatness control, and that is a clicky one. So it's not a continuous knob like a volume knob. It is a clicker. There we go. Then we've got HZ and KHZ. So that's the bass and the treble, basically. Let's have a go, shall we? Now, I don't know at which point it's cutting or boosting, but comparing the maximum to the minimum, I like that. I like having an instant voice control that if I was changing guitar, you could definitely try to match your sounds a little more, or just get like a sort of filtery sound. But for this guitar, I think that sounded the best. In that setting, it's very classic rock, especially with this Lester. let's test the gain, I guess. That is a great sound, regardless of where that's coming from. And it is different for me being in this room because I'm allowed to go, well, not allowed to go, but I'm able to go a little bit louder because I have a bigger room in which to spread that massive sound. That feels phenomenal. I wish it had fed back a little bit though. I was almost at the peak. I was like if 10 was the feedback point, I was getting towards an 8.5. Didn't quite get there. Let's have a look at this one, the HFD. Now, high frequency dynamics, for that, let's push this back to about there. So it's a bit gainy, but not too much. Let's bring it all the way down to begin with. Turn it on. Now, to my ear that I'm going to have to train in this new room, it feels like there's more highs when I'm turning that up, and it feels a bit more muffled when it's turned down. I don't know what it's doing, like inside the pedal. I'm going to say it's adding more voltage. That's probably not true, but just compare the maximum to the minimum. I know what it is. The lower setting sounds cheaper. That's the sort of sound that I'm used to getting from a budget version of a pedal. And then this one just makes it sound more expensive, more like an amp. Yeah, it's sparklier. I like it more up in the top area there. Then as for bass and treble, as you can see, I've got them set just below what I think is 0. But let's turn it all the way down and have a fiddle. It's doing what bass and treble should do. It's adjusting your bass and treble. I like it about there, to get my highs from the HFD and then set that as a sort of neutral zone. That's a great sound, and that's just the amp side. And before I talk about the fuzz, let's play a Strat. So on that setting, it's just a beautiful, slightly hairy Strat. Gain, yes. I'm leaving the rest as it is. No, let's add a bit. No, let's leave it there. Oh, yes. 100% yes. As a player, that is so nice. These pedals aim to be amp-like. That is the setting that makes this feel like an amp. It is slightly weird that that's only coming out of a 1x12 Vintage 30 there. I would like to hear that through a 4x12, so we're going to have to get that sorted in this studio at some point. That, through a 4x12, that is that sound. It just feels weird coming through a smaller or one speaker. It has all the elements that I want, though. I just want to try more fat before we go to the fuzz. That's maximum fatty. That's like a record an album sound. Just without the pedal. I mean, the Revv D25 is great, but... yeah, what a great, great sound that is. And I haven't even gone into the fuzz yet. Right, on the fuzz, we've got volume, we've got fuzz, and we've got tone. We've got a foot switch that turns it off and on, and then we've got burn or raw. So let's take this down to something amp-like, but yeah, let's put it there, ampish, but not over the top. So here it is. And now let's kick in fuzz at everything at 12 on the raw mode. I need a bit more fuzz, but that's glorious. I need a bit more gain from the amp, actually. What an absolutely glorious sound that is, and I could play it all day. But let's switch back to that Les Paul. I want to hear what that sounds like. Bit too burny, or raw, should I say. Let's drop the gain off that. Now switch it to burn. So on the burn setting, there's just, it's hotter, for want of a better word. I guess that's what they're aiming for over at Crazy Tube Circuits. It has more, it's more fuzz, but there's more high end as well. It's crispier, like sizzlier. This is ridiculous. I am having a lot of fun. Firstly, it is great to be back. It's been a while since I've made a video, and it's great to be in my new studio. But what a way to come back. What a great pedal. You might have noticed there are some sockets just here, and that is an effects return that you can put in between the fuzz and the amp. So if you wanted to add another drive, you could add it before, I guess, or you could add it in between here, have it just after the fuzz, or you could add some sort of time effect or an octaver. Now, apart from this one, oh no, I have a compressor over there. That's possibly the worst pedal to add in here. Or could it be the best? I have the white whale. Let's stick the white whale in there. Another Crazy Tube Circuits pedal, which is actually ginormous. Look at that, it's huge. Now I've got to put that, inputs would go, oh, that's not going to work. I have to put it this way. And then output is all the way over there. I hope it's going to reach with my tiny little leads. Here we go. And some power. It doesn't look very pretty, but it's that. And this white whale is not just a reverb, but it's also a tremolo. So I'm going to use it to try and get some helicopter-y sounds. That's phenomenal. So that's fuzz going into tremolo, going into the amp. And if you want, you can turn the fuzz off and just have the amp and the trem. So, the Orama. If you like classic rock, particularly 70s rock, this could be for you. If you like stoner, doomy stuff, this is almost certainly for you. It isn't really going to do that tight metal sound, but early metal, yes. Sabbath, 100%. This sounds phenomenal. If you want fuzz and an orange amp in one box, this is absolutely going on your list. If you have a clean Fender amp or Fender style amp and you want to add something that's convincing, that's high gain, but in an amp sort of way, this is absolutely fantastic. I love it. But if you're not into thick mids and heaviness, you should definitely skip this one. But for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I didn't think that Crazy Tube Circuits would do better than the Heat Seeker, but I think this is on par with it. Absolutely. The Heat Seeker is the Marshall style, this is the Orange style, and both together is a pretty strong arsenal. Price-wise, it's going to come in at between 250 and 300 euros. I don't know what that is going to be in American and British, but around the same depending on what the exchange rate is and what the world is doing. But as always, I will put links in the video description so you can see the exact pricing in your region. And let me know what you think in the comments section. And welcome to the new studio. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.